So, when you first get your mantises, they will come in a small 5-ounce deli cup, about the size right here. Okay, and you can see where they actually had some paper towel kind of hot glued into them and everything when they first came to me. They are about the size, in terms of size, when they first come to you. If you get them as an L2 or an L3 nymph, they're going to be roughly the size of a large carpenter ant. Maybe a little larger than that. The big black carpenter ants that I know, at least on the East Coast where I grew up, we had those a lot. I live in California now. I don't really see them out here. But yeah, they'll be about the size or a little bit larger than a large carpenter ant, the big black ones, and you'll get them in those. One of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to move them into something like this, which is a 32-ounce deli cup. And you can usually get these from the people who actually breed them themselves. They'll sell you the cup along with this it's a vented lid, but it's got the cloth on it and everything like that, so it can breathe. Sticks not included, nor the paper towels or the little screening thing here, but the cup itself you can usually get from the breeders. They're like that for an extra $1 or something like that. You can get them. They last a long time. They're super tough, and they're good to go. I personally, when they're very young, up until the time they're about L5s, I like to keep them inside of something like this. It's the perfect size for them. You can just use a little bit of paper towel on the bottom as a substrate to help retain moisture and everything like that. This screening stuff that you see, and you'll see more of this here in the future and bigger pieces of it, I use that as a climbing surface for them, because they do like to climb, of course, and they like to hang upside down, as I'm sure you've noticed. And of course you can add sticks to it or what have you. I'll get back more to the sticks and all of that later, like how you can prepare the sticks, make sure they're sterilized. I got some old bamboo stakes here that you can use like in the garden for staking up, you know, vines or tomato plants or what have you. But yeah, how to sterilize those, and I'll get more into that in the being prepared section. But this stuff right here, this is just your standard screening stuff that you can buy at Home Depot. You know, it's like $6 for a big roll or what have you. Just cut it to size, and you know, once your mantis is in there, you just you know, put it down like this. Gives them something in there that they can climb on and crawl on. There's a little bit more excess down here than I would typically have in there for them, because they need to be able to hang from the top here, either the cloth lid itself, depending on how big they are, or they might choose to use the screening itself to hang off of when they do their molts and everything. So, and you don't want this excess that would be down here to get in the way of them being able to hang and to actually do their molts and everything like that. So I was just using this for illustrative purposes. This is how I raise my mantises from the time they're about L2 until they become an L5. From there, I have moved them into, as you can see, these larger 64-ounce food storage containers, clear plastic. I changed the substrate out. Now I use, when they get a little older, I like to use a little cocoa fiber. Again, you can buy that at Petco. It's pretty cheap and everything like that. As you can see, there's Empress Matilda up there. She's going to have a molt soon. And here is Empress Boudica right there, and Edward the Confessor. They've been in a stare-off with each other for about the last 3 or 4 hours or so. They like to do that. It's actually kind of humorous. And there, of course, is Longshanks. So yeah, both my rhomboderas and my giant stick, I moved into these bigger 64-ounce containers when they hit L5, just because this is something they're going to be in now probably for the rest of their lives. It's big enough for them to allow them to continue to grow, and it's a good shedding surface. This material here, that screening surface stuff, is an excellent, as you can see, they love to hang out on it. They spend most of their time on it. It's just a wonderful shedding material, and they hang off of that. It's safe for them to shed off of and everything. So yeah, and this is, like I said, this is just typical screening stuff that you can buy at Home Depot, you know, for windows and screen doors and stuff like that. And then of course my Panther Mantis, she's still in a 32-ounce cup because she only ever gets to be about 2 inches fully grown. She's about, I think, about 2 molts shy of being an adult. So they don't get that big, and I think I'm just going to keep her in one of these cups. You know, I clean it out every couple of weeks or what have you, every time she molts and while she's eating and, you know, and stuff like that, so it's clean. But she seems pretty happy on there. She spends about 90% of her time on that bamboo stick, and she's like, hell no, I won't go. She has a beautiful little red belly. She's getting fat, eating too many mealworms. So other than that, that's pretty much housing. As you can see, it's pretty bog standard. These containers, these 64-ounce food containers, you can buy those from, I got these off of Amazon. So, you know, they're about, I don't know, a couple bucks a piece or something like that. And they last a long time. Nice, clear, see-through. You can really see through them and everything like that. And yeah, they're BPA free, so they won't harm the creatures, or they don't, when you put water in them, they don't leach out chemicals or anything like that. So for the most part, that should cover sizing and housing. As you can see, Longshanks is an L6 right now. It's a pretty big boy, as you see him through the top there. So yeah, that's the gist of housing and their sizes and everything like that. You know, when they're little and everything, let's say L2, L3 when you first get them, up through about L5 or so, even including those Carolina Mantises and stuff that you had and everything, you could keep them in something like this. Even if you don't have that screen mesh stuff up there, they can use the fabric that's attached to the top of this ventilated lid. And I've seen even my Rhomboderas, when they were really little, they would sometimes hang from that to molt by itself. So that was probably one of the problems that you had when you described earlier that you had a mantis that you had gotten as a nymph, and you put it into some kind of what do they call them, like critter keepers or something like that, and it went through a bad molt, is it didn't have a proper shedding surface inside of something like that. You can use critter keepers for adults and everything because they don't have to shed anymore, and they can hold on to stuff and they can climb. Like even these guys can climb the clear plastic sides, but they can't shed off of that. They need something something to hold on to, or whether it be like a solid stick that's grippy, or this material, the screening material. So I think that ought to just about cover that portion right there.